Please be seated. The court is now back in session. And witness, I still have some more questions to put to you. My question is related to Sir Wasi alias Dun. Yesterday you testified that he was chairman of Office 870. Based on your recollection, can you tell the chamber when Sir Wasi alias Dun was arrested and sent to S21? Answer. Sir Wasi alias Dun was arrested, but I cannot recall the exact date. What I recall is that his arrest was made after the arrest of Koi Thun. Question. Do you recall the year of his arrest? Answer. It was in 1977. Question. And did you know who ordered the arrest of Dun? Answer. My statement remains the same, that arrest orders came from the upper echelon, that is from 870. Question. I'd like to refer to a document, or rather some documents in relation to questioning of the facts related to UN. Document EC/1625 at Khmer EN 0001 1608, and English is at 0076 8020. Can you refer to the annotation which is highlighted in yellow before you, and the date of the annotation is 30 April 1977. Do you find that annotation? I actually have a tab there for you to refer to. President and Dutch, do you find the relevant annotation? It is on Khmer ERN 0001 1608, and I actually highlighted that annotation. Please refer to the first tab. Witness, Yes, I located the relevant annotation. And allow me to read the annotation as follows. Mr. Dun, to my little understanding, this document indicates that you are hiding something. It's like a cat hiding its feces. And I do not know whether this statement is correct or not. Please take some time beside your dream to review the text and report the matter truthfully based on the nature of the issues. Dutch, 30 April 1977. Indeed, this is my own annotation. Question. Can you tell the chamber the meaning of that annotation since you wrote it? Answer. This is one of the techniques of interrogation that Paul and I invented together, and I wrote this annotation by myself to Dun. And that means that he should stop lying. He used to lie. He had something to hide, and that's why I refer to a cat covering its own feces. And I instructed him to stop lying and to tell the truth. I and Dun and I had known each other since October 77 when Dun went to work with Koi Thun. And that was one of the factors that I incited him to write the truth. Thank you. Please refer to the second tab with Khmer EN at 00011629. English is at 00768021. It is a letter that you wrote to Monsieur Dun. And the date of the annotation is 11 May 1977. It is highlighted in green.
Look.
And Mr. Dutch, do you recognize that text or document? Answer. The handwriting is Pon, who was Dun's interrogator. And allow me to read it as follows. Monsieur Dun, I would like to give you the following reminders. In summary, the text you wrote and those that you are writing now are all about other persons' stories. Anyhow, you did not reveal any factual event of your story that you described your direct involvement in the movement. And if you continue to maintain this position, it is required under the adopted decision of the Ministry of Sante Baal that your ankle tendons be pierced. Do you believe that I will dare turn this warning into real practice instantly in front of your eyes if you're still obstinate? You said in your statements that Brother Perm was drunk and released the triple hooks letter, and Kaim has also seen that. Was this point in your statement a true fact? Dare you commit to replace your eyeballs with this if, through an inquiry, Cam says that he has not seen it? Mr. Dunn, to put your ankle tendons and eyeballs at risk is not an ordinary deal. It will become a real deal if you continue to be headstrong, hypocritical fascist. It is requested that you write a page or two to illustrate this as clearly as possible. 11 May 1977, Bonn. Question. Can you tell the chamber why the word Monsieur was used? It is rather strange that a foreign word Monsieur was used during the Democratic Cambodia regime that is at your S21 center. Answer. In fact, the word Monsieur in Khmer context was a degrading form to address a person. That is all I can say about the word Monsieur or Monsieur. Questioned, and based on the warnings that you just read out, did anything happen? Was Dunn subject to such ordeal during his detention at S21? Or were such practices ever used against other detainees? Answer. To my knowledge, it was merely a warning, and it was not used on anyone. Question. You have responded repeatedly about Bon. That is the person that you refer to, who was the author of this document. Can you tell the chamber the actual role and function or position of a Bon at S21? Answer. After I was released from prison, I stayed at a man's residence number 3, and Bond also stayed there. He was a teacher at Kampong Sila, but he fled and came to reside with me at the same man's residence. And I taught him the interrogation techniques. He was a person that I taught him rather closely in relation to the interrogation techniques. And another young man was Mir, but he passed away. He helped me with some work at M13 office. So, for important or special prisoners, I would assign Spawn to interrogate them. And I jointly worked with him in interrogation while we were at M13. But when we were at S21, our roles were different. And of course, there I assigned him to interrogate important prisoners. He never beat any important prisoner, and so that the confession was cut off. No, he never did that. He always got a result from his interrogation. Question. Thank you. Also in relation to Dunn, please refer to tab number 3 in the document before you. that is E3/1625 at Khmer EAN 001-1671. In English 0076-8023. This is another letter that was written 2 or 3 days before the day that we just the days of the letter that we just discussed. And this is a letter that Dun wrote to you. Have you located that letter, witness? Witness. Thank you, Mr. President. Allow me to read the letter. Beloved Brother Dutch, I could not find any words to describe the condition of my detention from the beginning until today. All kinds of punishment and torture were inflicted against me. Was it right or wrong to do so? President interrupts. Please hold on, witness, and Counsel Antakishe, you have the floor.
Mr. President, thank you. I am on my feet right now because I understood that you're asking the witness to read a letter written by Dun in which he explains that he was being interrogated. So here again, we're talking about a torture-tainted document. So I wanted to make this observation now before the witness continues with his reading of the letter.
I believe the purpose of this is to show that the torture was used. The letter specifically describes the detainee being subject to torture. And I cannot, again, imagine how the Torture Convention prohibits evidence that talks about the use of torture. It cannot possibly be the case that the Convention Against Torture prevents evidence, a statement from a detainee where he is talking about being tortured. If that was the case, up is down and down is up, and the Torture Convention is being used for a purpose that it was not intended. So I think any evidence where the detainee is talking about being tortured is admissible.
Well, if I may make a short comment about this. Well, if the point is to know whether or not torture was inflicted to Dun, well, we have enough evidence of that to reach that conclusion. I believe that the statements of the witness himself are sufficient to prove that. In any case, duress also was proven. And now saying that we can use the content of statements made by a person who was subjected to an interrogation and falling within the scope of the Convention Against Torture, these are statements that, of course, bring up torture. And therefore, we're dealing here with documents that are torture-tainted and that correspond perfectly to what the Convention Against Torture prohibits. That's exactly the sense of the decision you issued yesterday. So I stand by my observation.
The only purpose that I refer to this document is that I could not find any other surviving document, and this is the only document that I have found. Anyway, I'll ask general questions to Dutch. Dutch, in fact, there was a request for pardon so that the person was, could be spared. and he would do whatever tasks were assigned to him, or that he could be demoted from the rank of a party member to become a simple peasant. So, Dutch, could you tell the chamber regarding the facts that this person made an appeal to you or through the upper echelon? And were there other cases that was similar to this one? Answer: I cannot recall the events involving Duen. And as for this particular letter, I cannot say whether I saw it before. Yes, there were other prisoners who request for pardon, including Kong Chap Alice Sai, who begged me for the party to spare him because he knew how to make a rope to lead cattle. And I raised the matter to Brother Noon, and he laughed and he would not allow that to happen. In the case of Duen, I cannot say whether I read that letter. Regardless of whether I read it or not, Duen was not allowed to let out. One day, Pon requested to go and interrogated Koi Trun in person, and he actually blamed Koi Trun. And Koi Trun became quiet. And I did not know the full details of his confessions. I cannot recall it. President, thank you. I do not have any further questions for witness and any judges at the bench. I noticed that Judge Lavange wants to put some questions. Judge Lavange, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, witness, or good afternoon. I have a certain number of questions to put to you, which are essentially follow-up questions. And I would like to revisit the case of Nat. Do you know who decided to transfer Nat from the S21 jail to the staff committee? Who is the person who took that decision? Was it Son Sen? Was it someone else?
Thank you, Your Honor. The person who conveyed the message to me and Nat was Brother Son Sen. In fact, both of us were called by him to work. And he said that S21 was assigned to Dutch to be in charge. And as for Nat could conclude the remaining tasks for a period of 2 to 3 months. Although the work might be lagged behind, but that would be all right. That was his instructions. So based on these instructions from Brother Son Sen, he came through S21 not in capacity as for the general staff, but he was there in his capacity representing 870 or representing the office of the party center.
So what you're telling us is that it is Son Sen who spoke on behalf of Office 870. Is that what we must understand?
Son Sen came to S21 in his capacity as Office 870, not in his capacity as a general staff.
Well, for the record, because this is a document that you are not aware of, but I'd like to say that on the case file we have the minutes of the Standing Committee of 21 April 1976. It's document E3/235, French in English ERN 00183419, French ERN 00322971, Khmer 000-19146. And we find the following in particular. Now, regarding Super Comrades Min and Nat, they are only mobile cadres from the staff committee who come to support the staff committee. Regarding the combat operations, they do not have direct control over the forces involved. So what I'd like to know is if later on, when Nat was at the staff committee, you had the opportunity of seeing him again, of participating in meetings which he attended, and did he continue supervising as a member of the general staff S-21's activity?
The document that Your Honours quote, I only saw it at a later stage. That is during the proceedings in case 001. Min and Nat, that is in relation to Min and Nat and the decision of Pol Pot. Initially, Nat had many roles to play. He was assistant to the center, chairman of the medical committee, chairman of the military telecommunication, and later on became chairman of S-21. Gradually, he was removed from those positions, and finally, he was assistant to the general staff. That's what I learned at the time. And later on, Son Sen told me about his replacement, that I succeeded him. And the document that you just read out, I saw that later on, as by that stage the party no longer trusted him.
That was not exactly the question I was putting to you. My question was, later on, when Nat was working for the general staff, did he continue supervising S-21's activities? Or was he still involved in S-21's operations? Or was it only Son Sen, your contact person at general staff, who supervised S-21's operations?
Nat used to test me after his transfer, and that is during the interim period that he has to finish his remaining work. I made a report to Son Sen, and Son Sen said the next time I should scold him not to interrupt my work. And it did happen. Nat came, and then I warned him that I would report his presence to Angka.
Donc, pour que les choses soient parfaitement claires,
in order for what you're saying to be perfectly clear, to the best of your recollection, when did Nat completely stop all activities related to S-21?
It was around June.
donc juin 1960.
That is June 1976.
Vous savez si Nat a
Do you know whether Nat, at a point in time, was transferred to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
A long while after, Nat was transferred from the General Staff to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That is a few months after I attended the study session where Pol Pot made a presentation. My apology. I heard the incorrect interpretation that happened before I attended the study session together with Nat.
Est-ce que vous faites référence?
Are you referring to a training session with Pol Pot or with Nat? Or a training session with Pol Pot in which Nat participated?
Allow me to clarify it. The training session chaired by Pol Pot, Ho, Hoi, and I were participants. Nat was also a participant, and Ok was also a participant.
Et est-ce que la date de cette réunion
And was that meeting held in October 1978?
I cannot recall the exact date and year, Judge.
Bien, vous nous avez
Very well. You stated that you recall that Nat was transferred to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Was that transfer some kind of demotion, or was it something that happened often, that people in a state of disgrace were transferred to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? And if so, why was it that it was the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was the target ministry?
Thank you, Judge. The removal of a cadre and then transfer to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that was the first measure against that individual. Hock was transferred to that location. Nat, Kai Kam Huon were transferred to Ministry of Foreign Affairs before their arrests.
Et est-ce que vous vous souvenez quand Nat
And do you recall when Nat was arrested?
It was in late 1978.
Alors, nous avons au dossier
Well, we have on record Nat's confessions. In Yon alias Nyat, and it is document E3/1710. And those confessions date back to the very end of December 1978. Do you recall who you reported confessions to? First of all, do you recall Nat's confessions, and to whom did you report Nat's confessions?
Thank you. Nat's confession was sent to Nguyen Uncle Noon by me. Nat and Brother Hawk were arrested altogether.
Et où était détenu Nat?
And where was Nat detained? He must have known quite a number of persons working at S21. So where was he detained?
At the time, the interrogation place was located in Punyayat Lycée or High School. Ho knew Nat, but no one dared to intervene the release of Nat.
Vous nous avez dit que vous aviez fait rapport.
You stated that you reported to Noon Chia. It so happens that Nat was detained very shortly before the arrival of the Vietnamese. Did you receive any orders to execute Nat? And if so, who issued those orders?
Regarding the smashing of Nat, that happened in normal procedures. He was not kept for quite a period of long of time, so that we could obtain sufficient confession after the interrogation. He was sent away. Together with other two individuals. 3 of them were sent out. Nat, Brother Hawk, and Brother Won. 3 of them were sent out, not to Chiang Ai, but perhaps to a bush on Road 63.
Je crois que vous avez déjà parlé de cet endroit.
I believe you have already talked about that location. You talked of a lake very close to where important personalities were executed. Is that correct?
That location you have just mentioned, the bushes close to a pond north of Road 63. And it was close to Mao Zedong Boulevard.
Donc, quand vous avez pris la tête de...
When you were appointed director of S21, tell me if I am wrong, you accumulated the functions of director of S21 and the secretary of the S21 committee. Is that correct?
Thank you, Judge. I was appointed in mid-March 1976. That was after the removal of Nat, and I became the secretary of the party branch of S21.
Donc vous étiez secrétaire.
Very well. You were secretary of the S21 committee. You had a deputy secretary whose name was Hall. And you had a member called Hui Sre. Regarding these two members, Hor and Hui, were both of them members of Division 703. Is that the case?
That is correct. I was the only secretary of S21. Hui and Ho were originally were from 703. One was the secretary, and the other one was one was the deputy secretary, and the other one was the member.
Est-ce que Houy, dont on sait qu'il a été
Regarding Hui, and we know he was chief of Presa, was he ever the head of Tak Mau prison at any point in time?
Presa prison was located in the farming field of S21. We never used Presa prison, in fact. I recall that during the proceedings, you, Judge, said that we did not use Presa prison because party did not want anybody to see that the party had the prison. That is why we did not use Presa prison.
Je vous demande d'écouter.
Please, may I request you to listen to the questions I am putting to you. I did not talk about Presa prison. All I asked was whether Hui, at any point at the beginning of his activities, was in charge of the Tak Mau execution site. We're not talking of Presa. We know that he headed Presa as an education center, but that is not what we are talking about.
Thank you, Judge. Concerning duties of Hui and Ho, I do not know about their duties before much. But when I was in charge of them, Hui was supervising rice farming at Presa. And as for Ho, he supervised Phnom Penh and also Chương Ek.
Houy a été.
Hui was arrested and executed. Ho was neither arrested nor indeed executed. How do you explain the fact that Ho, former member of Division 703, was not purged? Who decided that members of Division 703 were to be executed?
Hui was smashed at S21, but not Ho. We did not just smash the members or people from 703. Ho was very meticulous of his tasks before the party.
Donc, il y avait quelqu'un.
So there was someone who decided who were the good elements and the bad elements in Division 703. My question is this: who decided who was a good or a bad element? There were many S21 staff members who were members of Division 703. Many.
Who decided whom was good or bad? The decision was made by the movement or the task that they did. Ho was concentrating on his duties and works, but Hui made many infractions or mistakes, and he was not serious about his work. The primary and the most noticeable mistake was to allow a radio operator to plea to somewhere else, and we could not find that individual.
J'aimerais maintenant poser quelques questions.
I would like to put a few questions to you regarding Paul. Can you tell us when you met Pang for the first time? Since when had you known him?
Thank you, Judge. I started to know Pong when Nada brought Pong to introduce to S21. At the time, I was working at the Commissariat, General Commissariat of National Police. Nada brought Pong to the location, and later on, Sun Sen said that the cadres from Hanoi confessed, and Nada wrote down the names of those who were implicated. And Sun Sen told me about that issue, and I was scared. Sun Sen consoled me and advised and told me not to worry, since Pong was a good person. So from that point onward, I started to know Pong.
Je ne comprends pas très bien ce que vous...
I do not quite understand what you're saying. You said you were afraid because Sun Sen had told you that cadres from Hanoi were going to be arrested. What were the cadres from Hanoi coming to do, and why were you afraid?
Thank you. That were the two different types of procedures that we performed our tasks. Nat asked the cadres from Hanoi that we arrested to ride on the boats. Comrade from Hanoi named Phum implicated Nhum at the time, Brother Nhum. Sun Sen came to see me and said, contemptible Phum implicated Nhum, and I was scared after hearing that. I was terrified because usually we did not allow other cadres, Pong, to see confessions of enemies.
Quand vous avez vu l'importance...
When you saw how important Pang's role was, and from what you're saying, Pang must have had an important role to play, so you had to consult both of them. When you saw how important Pang's role was, did you understand that Pang was a member of the Santebao?
Later on, I learned that Pong was not an ordinary individual. He was a member or the associate of the center, the first individual. So I started to respect him because he usually conveyed the instructions of Pol Pot to S-21.
Donc, Pang
So, Pang was a link between S-21 and Pol Pot, or the center. Is that correct?
est-ce que vous connaissiez,
Did you ever hear anyone talk of an office referred to as S-71? And if yes, what do you know as regards S-71?
Thank you, Judge. Previously, I had known that Pang was the spokesperson of Pol Pot and the chief of the guards unit of Pol Pot. In these hearings, I saw a list of S-21 stating that Pang was the chief of ministry S-71, said the witness.
ce que j'aimerais, je sais que c'est pas, ça peut être difficile.
It may be difficult, but I would like you to make the distinction between what you knew at the time and what is relevant to me, and what you knew subsequently. During that period, did you know that Pang headed an office called S-71?
Back then, I knew that Pang was a spokesperson of Pol Pot. He was the chief of Pol Pot's guard unit or defense unit.
Est-ce que vous avez vu,
Did you see Pang carry out any arrests? Or did you see him leading persons who were arrested to S-21?
Thank you, Mr. President, said the witness. Pang brought people to me for the arrests. I could recall Mansan alias Ya. He was brought to my house to be arrested, the house which was located on Moniwong Boulevard.
est-ce que Pang a amené,
Did Pang bring to S-21 a number of persons working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
I cannot recall it well.
alors je précise que nous avons,
Let me point out that we've heard here before this chamber Salot Ban on the 24th of April 2012 at 10 hours 04, and it's transcript E3/67.1, and he explained that among the persons who came to get people in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was Pang.
est-ce que vous savez si Pang avait d'autres attributs?
Do you know whether Pang had other duties, including, for example, do you know whether he had any links with Beng Trabek or Cheng Chamres or other organs that were under the center?
My apology, I do not get your question. Do you want to know about the relation of Pong with other individuals?
Ce que je voulais savoir,
What I would like you to tell us is whether you were aware that Pang had other activities, including activities related to the Bang Trabek Center or Chang Shamres Center, or other organs that were under the center.
Pong told me of his frequent trips to Bang Trabek and Chang Samres and other locations. He was so busy and he was actively engaged in those tasks.
est-ce qu'une des activités de Pang
Was one of Pang's activities the reception of Cambodians living abroad and who are returning to Cambodia? And did Pang bring some foreigners who are just coming into Cambodia from abroad to S21?
Thank you. Bringing the Khmer people who had arrived in Cambodia and then they were brought into S21. I cannot recall the events well.
Bien.
Very well. You stated, in answer to a question put to you during these proceedings, that you had conversations with Pang. I would like to know whether you had those conversations before Pang was arrested and detained at S21, or you had those conversations only after his arrest.
I asked Pong on various issues on frequent basis because he brought outside prisoners to S21 to be arrested. And as for conversations that I had with Pong, it happened before Pong's arrest. After Pong was arrested, I did not go to see Pong.
Bien. Après la
Very well. After Pang's arrest, there was another person called Lim. Lim Khan. Is that Lim? Lim Khan alias Ken? Or we are talking of someone else?
After the arrest of Pong, it was the time for Comrade Lin, alias Ken or Kain. Yes, that was the time when Lin was arrested. That happened after Pong's arrest. No. Lin was not arrested after Pong. that there was error with interpretation. Lin was not arrested. Let me continue what I want to say. Lin had a division, that is division of 180. Division 180 defends the whole center office. And Pang was above Lin. Lin was above Kami, so there was a group of the three individuals, as I have just mentioned.
In order for everything to be clear, who replaced Pong?
Thank you. Lin, alias Kain, replaced Pong.
When was Lin arrested? Because if he replaced Pong, he was necessarily arrested afterwards.
There was no arrest made against Lin. I met Lin in 1985, to my recollection.
So, whom were you speaking about when you said that he had been arrested before Pong? Who was this person? Was this someone by the name of Kim, or? You said earlier that someone whom I thought was Lin had been arrested before Pong. So, whom were you speaking about?
Phum, the cadre from Hanoi. Phum confessed, mentioned about Nhum, who joined the traitors.
Did Phum have any kind of connection with Ieng Sari?
The level of communication between Ieng Sari and Pang was not known by me, but Pang had held a powerful position, so he could enter that office easily. President. It is now time for the adjournment. The Chamber will resume its hearings tomorrow on Wednesday, 15 June 2016 at 9 a.m. Tomorrow, the Chamber will continue hearing the testimony of Dutch, Kangyo alias Dutch. Please be informed and be on time. Thank you, Kangyo alias Dutch. Your testimony has not come to an end yet, so you are invited here again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Security personnel are instructed to bring their accused back to the ECCC detention facility and also bring the witness. Also be brought to the detention facility and have them return at 9 a.m. and before 9 a.m. respectively. The court is now adjourned.